listening to the Pohu Experience.
Yo, today is the Taipei Night Market recommendation episode. This has got to be the episode that I have the longest notes for. I thought I could just put mini notes like, all right, there's these 5-6 night markets and here are the things to look for. Then the more I thought about each one, I realized, man, there's no way I'm going to remember all of this just in my brain. So I have this long list of notes on like talking points, make sure I don't miss out. And planning all of this out really just got me kind of excited. To be honest, I haven't been to our night markets for, I guess, maybe a year. Actually, no, straight away, I just lied because I do live right next to a night market, which in a daytime, it's a day market and a nighttime, it's a night market. It's not a really well-known one, but it's still a night market nevertheless. And I was just there like last month and I order from it all the time with Uber Eats. So, okay, that's a complete lie. But what is true is I haven't been to all these big ones. Like the ones that I'm going to share today, these are ones that is just basically a trip. You could easily spend, 1 to 3 hours there, enjoy food, enjoy shopping, enjoy games like claw machine games and all that. I haven't been to one of those for maybe in the past year, but I would imagine most of the things are the same. For some of them, my Uber Eats can reach them, so I still get to taste their food. I just haven't been there in person. I still remember all these details quite distinctively because there was a period of time where all I ate was street food. Like I was all about street food, especially before I moved back to Taiwan. I didn't live in Taiwan my whole life. A big chunk of my life, I was living in Southeast Asia, in Jakarta and Singapore. I only moved back here since having the kiddos. And so before, whenever I came back to visit, I wouldn't eat at cafes or restaurants. It was just all night markets. All I wanted to do was visit all the night markets, big and small. And I guess this is just my preface to say I have done my homework. I do have experience. And a lot of them are still kind of fresh in my memory because it was good times. I still know the stalls that I like when I go to certain night markets, and I'll make sure I hit those first and then check out if there's anything new. Night markets to me in Taiwan, it's really a treasure. And as I've said, I've lived in Southeast Asia for a big chunk of my life, and I have seen a lot of kind of Taiwan snacks, Taiwan night market snacks replicas. I wouldn't say they're bad, but they're really not similar. They're not really the same. Like I know Southeast Asia, or actually around the world, there's a lot of like, Taiwan Shilin snack chains. It is nothing like going to a Shilin market at all. Like it's very, very different. And even if you find the same foods, if you find the same fried chicken, the misua, it is not the same at all. And especially I think now this is the more appropriate time to, talk about all this because travel is opening up for the whole world. We are finally moving on from 2020. It is now back where we left off in 2019. So before I go into specific night markets you should visit in Taipei, and Taipei specifically because I live in Taipei, I'm not as well versed in night markets in the other cities like Taichung, Tainan, or Kaohsiung. But the way the night markets function in those cities are kind of different than Taipei as well. I'll get into that later on, but today's recommendation will mainly be for Taipei night markets. It's not going to be all of them. It's just ones I feel that if you come here, these are probably ones that you should hit. If you have more time, then go seek out all the more lesser known ones. And all are truly great. All offer different types of foods. Every night market in Taipei kind of has its own, I don't want to say specialty, but there's just the way they cook things are slightly different. Like if you get stinky tofu in one market, it might be different in another one. And different stalls also cook it in a slightly different way. So it's not always exactly the same thing, even if it's the same dish. So first, I want to just introduce some of the dishes that you might want to hunt down in any of these night markets. If you see it, it looks interesting to you, go and try it. Number one is braised pork rice, 卤肉饭. The closest thing I can think that kind of resembles this, as in another dish that you might have tasted, is when you go to a Thai restaurant and you order their minced pork or minced beef stir-fried in chili, and then you eat that with white rice. That's kind of the feel, but it's still not the braised pork rice in Taiwan. It's very different. There are many different versions. There's the very simple version where it's literally just white rice. You get some of the braised pork on top, and that's it. A little bit more fancy, you might have a pickle or two. A little bit even more fancy, they'll give you half an egg. And usually you eat that with side dishes, right? You might have meatball soup on the side or some veggies. But alone, I feel braised pork rice is something that you should try if you come to Taiwan for sure. Second thing would be to try our bubble tea. I know boba is famous around the world, but I still feel the ones in Taiwan are a little bit different. Over here, we have super large large bubbles and mini bubbles that you can try. Not every chain will have it, but you could always ask. It's not always on the menu as well, and I feel it's a little bit more special. Personally, I like the smaller bubbles. Bigger bubbles start to feel more like dessert, and the regular bubbles you likely would have tasted in your hometown as well. And this is just my personal preference, because in Taiwan there's a million bubble tea chains. There is, commercial chains, personal chains, chains from YouTube influencers. There's all kinds of bubble tea places. There's probably as many bubble tea places as there are 7-Eleven. And to be honest, all of them have their specialty. They're all great. It's really hard to go in a really shit one. Of course, there might be some that's not towards your taste. Try multiple stalls, try to order different types of drinks. I'm pretty sure you'll find something that you really like. But for me personally, one chain that I absolutely always love is called 50兰. It's called 50兰. You don't need to know how to read Chinese characters. You could just see if there's like a sign and there's a 50 there with one word after it, that's it. There's no other one that looks like that. I just find the tea there really nice. I order from it regularly just for the tea. Like no bubbles, just their tea. I feel they're almost like the gold standard in Taiwan. That's my personal preference. Next thing will be the tofu pudding, which is Tonghua. This is something I don't really get to eat unless I'm in Taiwan as well. It's usually served sweet. You could have it hot or cold, and it's just very refreshing. If you're coming during winter, get the hot one. If you're coming during summer, get the cold one. Oh, another thing, most things in Taiwan, if there are sizes for you to order and you order the small's not really that big at all. So if you order everything small, there's a high chance you could eat a large variety of foods. And I really do feel that's the way to play if you're in Taiwan. You're going food hunting, you're going to the night markets, just buy as minimum as possible of everything so you can try everything. And if you really like something, after you've tried everything, then go back. There's just so many different foods here that you have to try it to know whether you like it or not. Or not, you really might be missing out. And the next thing is braised foods, or over here we call it Raohe. And usually what it looks like is you'll see a stall that has like everything laid out in front of it. There's tofu, there's sausages, meatballs, pig's ear, and there's usually a basket on the side with like a clipper. You grab a basket, take the clipper, take whatever you want into the basket. Once you're done, you give it to the stall owner. He'll usually prepare it in a certain way. Some might mini deep fry it, some might boil it, some might just put special sauce on it. Different stalls have different ways of preparing it, but it's all still just kind of braised snacks. You could buy as much or as little as you want. You could even just buy like one piece of tofu and they'll charge you accordingly. Braised foods is something I turn to a lot if I'm really lazy, and especially if you go with the boiled ones, they're just really flavorful without much added calories to it. If I'm lazy, I need protein, I need veggies, I go find a Raohe stall around my area or use Uber Eats to find one and just order whatever I want. Usually they do have broccoli, they have all kinds of veggies, they have all kinds of protein. They don't have like chicken breast or all that, but they do have all kinds of tofus. It becomes quite convenient to just mix and match a meal, and it helps me hit my calories and proteins. Then after that, there is flour rice cake noodles, or over here we call misua. Misua is basically, I guess, vermicelli, but boiled until it's really, really soft, and you can basically eat it with a spoon. You don't eat it with a fork or chopsticks. Over here, it's usually cooked with intestine or oyster. If you don't like either, you could usually just get misua by itself. And I think this is one of the dishes Shilin market food chains in around Southeast Asia. They have misua there as well, but I feel their misua is a little bit too thick. If you come here and try, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very different. For people that like spicy, usually misua stores here have their own chili. It's really up to you how much chili you put with it, and it's just it can get kind of addicting. We also have oyster omelette. Oyster omelette is exactly as it sounds. It's eggs and oyster, but cooked in a way where they add a little bit of flour, so you have a little bit of thickness to the eggs, and they do add veggies as well. It's actually quite a, I'd say, nutrient-rich dish. They'll cook it all together and have this kind of red sweet sauce on top. It's not spicy at all, even though it looks really red. It's just a really good combo that I haven't really seen this combo in Jakarta or in Singapore or Korea, Japan. It seems to be something that only we do here, that kind of mixture. Then there's also papaya milk. Papaya milk over here used to be kind of like a breakfast staple. I think it's worth a try. Maybe not for everybody, especially for people that don't like papaya, but if you enjoy papaya, papaya milk is almost like a milkshake. You could usually find it in any place that sells juice. Just ask for papaya milk. Another one would be sen jian bao, which translates to kind of a meat bun. It's the in between a normal meat bun and a xiaolong bao, like a mini dumpling. It's like in between. Size-wise, it's in between. Also, the thickness of the flour is also in between. I really don't know how to explain it. I guess it's a mini meat bun or an enlarged xiaolong bao. It's something you just have to try when you get here. Usually it comes in flavors like cabbage or just pure meatball, and it's not very big. It's a little bit smaller than a fist size, and there's usually more filling than there is flour, so you could definitely eat a few and not be full yet. And so if you get the chance, try all the flavors flavors first before you go for seconds. And of course, there is the stinky tofu. There's two main types of stinky tofus here. Number one is the fried types, basically just fried tofu served with a little bit of what we call here white kimchi, which is just preserved vegetables, but it's not red or spicy like the Korean ones. And then there's a special soy sauce that goes with it. The other version is usually a mala version, a spicy version, one kind of in soup. I think they're both very distinct. One thing about stinky tofu is if you really don't like the smell, I can promise you eating it doesn't smell like it. There are ones that do. For some locals here, me included, like we actually like that stinky taste. But unfortunately for us, it's actually not that common. Usually stinky tofu here is when they're cooking it, it smells like that. When you eat it, it just tastes like regular tofu and you're just like, well, okay, what's the big deal? Unless you like the stink and you're gonna seek out the stinkiest tofu you can find, you'll have no problem with stinky tofu. And you try it once, you get to tell all your friends, yeah, it's not bad, not that bad, because everybody, especially those that have smelled it and just not willing to try it, I just feel you're missing out because it's not like durian, right? Durian has a smell, and then when you eat it, there's also a smell. And so it's like you're either okay or not okay with it. With stinky tofu, you might not be okay with the smell, but you might love the taste because it's two completely different things. And two more I think you guys should try if you come over here. One is sweet potato balls. It's basically a ball of deep fried sweet potatoes, but inside is all hollow. It's just a really nice snack, and it's best when you buy it fresh and it's still kind of warm, kind of hot. I don't know how else to describe it. I guess it's kind of like a mochi. It's a deep fried mochi that is in the shape of a ball. When you bite into it, inside is completely hollow and you're just kind of chewing on fried mochi with a sweet potato taste. Yeah, this thing you can get addicted to. And again, like a lot of times when you buy Taiwanese snacks, they'll give you small or big. Buy the small one first, try it out. Different sweet potato ball stalls will taste slightly different because the way they fry it, the way they prepare the flour and all that, it's a little bit different. Even if it's the same food, try different stalls, see what you like. Last one is probably one that's less discussed with all the videos and info about Taiwan or Taipei night market foods, and that's the aiyu jelly. What it looks like is basically tea-colored jelly, and it's actually made from a natural, I actually don't know what it is, a natural plant or fruit or something. It's a natural jelly. It's not some processed stuff, and usually you have it as a drink or a dessert, and it's served with lemon juice and a little bit of sweetener. It's almost like an iced lemon tea, but jelly. It's really refreshing, and a lot of times you might see something like this. Like you might see there's some lemons on a stall and a big chunk of tea-colored jelly. You have no idea what that is. That's aiyu jelly. And so that's it for foods to hunt for. I know there's a lot of other different foods in Taiwan that you could just Google or watch YouTube videos about all the other must-eat foods, but in my mind, I feel that wherever you're coming from, these are the ones that you likely have never tried before, not even a variation of it. Whereas the other stuff, like, yeah, we're pretty famous for our fried chicken, but it's not like you don't have fried chicken. You've had KFC before. It's a version of KFC, but braised pork rice or senjianbao or our stinky tofu, that stuff you don't really get anywhere else. And I think if you're going to come here, that's the things that you should try, right? And so now we'll get into the markets I feel you should hit if you're coming to Taipei. First thing about planning, right? If you're planning to hit night markets in Taipei, you basically can only hit one a day because night markets open from 5 p.m. all the way to around midnight, 1 a.m. But prime time is around 7 to 10 p.m. That's when all the stalls are open and it's just peak hour. You won't be missing out because if you go too early, if you're going at 5, chances are 50% of the stalls aren't ready. You go at 6, most are open, but some might not have done their preparation for cooking or ingredients or whatever. So it's usually 7 to 10 o'clock, you won't miss out. And this goes for all night markets. But because of that, you're only hitting one a day. So plan around that. And if you're going to visit night markets, just treat that as your dinner. Like don't go to dinner and then go to a night market. You just wasted space in your stomach. Go to a night market hungry and only buy the small portions. That way you could really play the night market. You could have a lot of fun trying all kinds of different foods. Night markets here, no matter which one you go to, is cheap. It's seriously cheap. It's if you give yourself like $100 to spend for, let's say, 2 kids to adults, it's actually kind of difficult to finish that in a night market in one night. You'll probably be too full around 30 to 50 bucks. Food here is really, really cheap. So the first one that you should hit, I feel, is if you've never been to Taiwan, you don't know what night market culture is like, Shilin night market is definitely one of them you should go. Shilin, in my eyes, I don't really like it simply because it's become too touristy. But if you've never been here before, it's totally worth going to. It's just an easier experience. Most stalls there have an English menu. It's very big. There's so many little alleyways that you can explore. I would say Shilin is probably the biggest one in Taipei as well. There's just so much to see there. There's shopping, there's games. It doesn't have to be the first one, but I think that's one that you should go to and at least know what it's all about. For me personally, over there's only 2 foods I hunt down. One of them is a fried tofu stall that's near a temple. I don't know any more than that because the stalls are so scattered. I actually only know how to navigate my way around if I am there. I just kind of have my direction senses there. I know which corner it's in. I don't even really know how to find it on Google Maps. If and when I go back and visit them, I'll make a note to see what their exact location is and try to share that if you guys are all interested. And what makes them special is they cut the tofu pieces to like really, really small, like mini cubes, fry it like that. So you get an extra layer of fried sides on the tofu. Above that, their stinky tofu is a little bit on the stinkier side. Like chances are if you walk past it, you smelled it, and they're usually fully queued to sit in. And so I usually go to the other queue to take out. Number 2 is cold noodles. Cold noodles in Chinese is liang mian. And it's as it sounds, it's cold noodles in this kind of peanut sesame sauce. Side dishes that could go with it is miso soup or like miso soup with meatballs. And that's it. That's all they sell. I don't know if it's because one of my earliest memories of having cold noodles is from this stall. So kind of have an attachment with it, or that it's just really that good because I really like cold noodles. Cold noodles everywhere is really great, but this stall just has a special place in my heart. So whenever I go to Shilin, I will definitely go and visit. The second night market I would recommend, which is a must go as well as Shilin, would be Raohe night market. It's also super big. It's a lot easier to navigate than Shilin because Shilin has a million different alleys and different directions you could take it. There's like a games area, shopping area, food area. Raohe is more just about food. There's mostly food, minimum shopping, and minimum games. The last time I went, there's a lot of claw machine places now. In between your snacks, you can go and have fun, try your luck as well. Raohe is a place I would regularly take the kiddos because there's just a wide variety of foods. They love the claw machines, and it's a nice walk. It's a very easy walk. It's like 2 streets, basically, 2 very long, narrow streets. So you walk down one, come back the other way, and you would have walked the whole market. I would say in the leisurely pace, it'll take you an hour. Walking leisurely, see the stall, try one of their foods, eat it, take a picture. Fastest, it was 1 hour. Likely, you'll easily spend 2 to 3 hours there. It's a very different vibe than Shilin. And I would argue, yes, it's also touristy, but a lot more local. It's not as touristy as Shilin. Over there, I'd say anything that looks good, try it. For me personally, there is a pepper bun place there. Pepper bun is called hu jiao bing, which is basically a big meat bun, but inside the meatball is really, really peppery. There's a lot of chives. Like you'll have to Google the image. I'm bad at describing it just through words. It's a must try. Depending on which end you enter Raohe, it's on one of the ends, the one closer to the temple, and you can't miss it. It has a whole snake-shaped line for you to queue up because there's always a line, but don't get intimidated by the line. As long as the line goes, you're talking about 15 minutes tops because they got a lot of people working on it really fast and it's totally worth it. Also, do be careful if you're getting it fresh. It is super hot. If you just got it and just carry the bag around for half an hour, it's still piping hot. Make sure you don't burn yourself if you try it. We usually go there and just buy like 4, which 2 will eat on the spot, 2 will bring home and heat up for the next day. It tastes very different heated up. Definitely not as good as if you had it there fresh, but the overall dish is just so unique. Not something you can get easily. Like I have nothing on Uber Eats right now to get anything like that. Like we literally have to go to Raohe night market to get it. So that's one. Number 2 is there is 2 okonomiyaki stalls in Raohe that I really like. One seems like it's made by a Japanese guy and their okonomiyaki is more round shape, and there's another one that's made by a local guy and it's square shape. I just really like okonomiyaki. It's not something you can get here easily. They don't exactly taste like ones in Japan. It's just, it hits the spot for me. I just really like it. I like their ratio of cabbage, flour, and whatever bacon or shrimp they're putting on it. It's just really good. I think it's worth trying both, but I'm absolutely biased. But also over there is one of the places whenever we go, whatever catches my eye, I'll buy. Raohe night market is one of the few places I'd say, I won't say you'll love everything because everybody has different tastes, but nothing will be shit. There's no landmine. You'll be totally fine trying whatever catches your eye. Oh yeah, and Raohe is the place that I usually get the aiyu jelly. There's a old lady there in the middle of the road all by herself. She's really, really sweet, really nice, and she sells grass jelly and also aiyu. Both are really good. She's also really nice. You could add extra lemon for more sour taste. You could add extra sugar all on your own, or she'll help you out sometimes. That's a stall. If we remember, we will go. Sometimes we forget, so we miss it. You know, the black pepper bun, the okonomiyaki, and the aiyu jelly. These are the 3 places that I'll definitely hit whenever we go go to Raohe night market. Next up is a Tonghua night market. And this is a lot more local. This is a lot more authentic. I think it's less touristy. It's a lot smaller than Shilin and Raohe. I'd say it's half of Raohe. It's just one street, but it's one street filled with mostly food. Actually, it's probably 50-50, 50 shopping, 50 food. And there's a lot of claw machines there. Kiddos really love going to Tonghua as well because of all the claw machines. And number two is at the end of Tonghua market, there's a whole street that's pet shops. And, you get to see cute dogs and cats, and kiddos love that as well. So usually when we go to Tonghua, that's like 3-4 hours gone, like half of it in a night market, the other half looking at the pets. Over there's a pork sausage stall that's quite famous, and you'll probably see it has pictures of it being on TV and all that. It's a stall that I'll always buy, although there's a lot of other pork sausage stalls that taste really, really similar. It's not that special, but for whatever reason, every time we're in Tonghuа Yeshi, we'll get one and share it. And I guess it's because this stall can do a lot of flavors, that it can do coriander, it can do kimchi, onions, garlic. There's a lot of flavors. He'll slice open the sausage in half, but not completely, and then fill it up really high with the flavor that you want. It's a little bit different, I guess, than other stalls, but the sausage itself doesn't taste that special. I guess it's just the way they prepare it. Around the middle area of Tonghua, there's a place that sells grilled fish cake and grilled chicken butt. Both are really good. I'm a sucker for chicken butt, so anytime there's chicken butt that looks good, I'll definitely go try it. And this stall, it's really good. Downside is they take a long time to grill it, but every time I've had it, it's worth it. Around that area, there's also a stinky tofu stall that also serves the mini size ones. It's pretty good too. I don't always have it when I go there, but it's one that's notable. It's when people ask me what's good in Tonghua, that's one of the places that I'll mention. Then one of the special things is the senjianbao that I was talking about, the in between a meat bun and a xiaolongbao. There's a stall at the end of Tonghua near the pet section. You can't miss it. There's usually a line. There's a stall that specializes in this. That is a must go. That is just, you must go and try that out. They also sell gyoza dumplings. If you like that, get a box as well. I think they sell it in like 6 or 12. Definitely you could go for 12, especially if you're with family. One of the few places where it's made fresh and it's just so good. You might have seen some of these in Shilin, and if you've tried it, it's likely similar, but for me, I've tried all different ones. The one in Tonghua is the one that I like the most. Oh, and you're probably wondering why I haven't had any mention on fried chicken. Fried chicken here, I feel they're all good. If you find one and it looks good, just go try it out. The only one that'll get a special mention from me is this chain called Monga Chicken, Monga. I think there's one in Raohe. There's also one in Tonghua, and I think they have a branch in Shilin as well. It's a chain. It's not commercial chain. It's just like a local guy got some investors and they opened a lot of shops. I really like theirs is because they use really fat and juicy chicken breast. It's very lean, but it's juicy. I don't know how they fry it. It doesn't taste that oily. There's just not that much grease. And so personally, I like that a lot. Even on some days where I'm lacking protein and haven't had much food in a day and I need something just to fill me up, calories plus protein, that's my go-to. And luckily for me, there's one near my place, so I could Uber Eats it, have fresh fried chicken whenever I want. But it's definitely considered a Taiwanese snack that you should try. Even when you're with family, I feel buy one and share it first. If you like it, then get some more. For some people, fried chicken is fried chicken, right? Nothing special, and you can go and try other foods. And so the next place you should go and check out, and this is a place where you don't have to go at that timing that I was saying, the 7 to 10 peak timing. And this is Ximending. Ximending here, it's a youngster shopping hip district, which there's a lot of street food, but scattered all over the place. This is the place where it's more shopping than street food. And this is a place you could hit at about 3-4 p.m. 3-4 p.m. it's already, everybody's up and about. The thing about the street vendors there is it's illegal. So they run around, like police kind of play a cat and mouse game with them and they'll move around. So I can't really give you an exactly where they'll be at all times, but there's all kinds of vendors there. All have great foods. There's also a lot of alleyways you can check out that have little stalls. Those have great food as well. And I think Ximending is just one of those places that it's like a whole road that's closed off to cars. So cars aren't allowed. It's only for pedestrians. I would definitely say it's gotten a little touristy. It's still very worth visiting. Depending on what you find there, you might end up needing 2 days to explore the whole place. There is really all kinds of shopping. There is all kinds of foods. And it's very close to the Taipei main station, which is a whole area to explore on itself there. But that's not really a night market food, so I won't talk about that as much. In the Ximending, one of the things that I always get when I get there, which I find special, and it's definitely like a tourist trap, but I still fall for it as a local. So there's a place that sells white bitter gourd juice. I know that sounds scary, right? White white bitter gourd, but it's actually just one of the freshest juices I've ever had. Whenever we go there, we'll always make effort to go to that stall. The way they make it is actually white bitter gourd with cucumber and honey. It's not as weird or bittery as you think. When you drink it, it's really refreshing, and there's just a bitter aftertaste. And the bitter aftertaste is more like a coffee bitter aftertaste. It's not an aftertaste that it's like aiyu, and that's something you might find in Shilin, but I think the stall in Ximending is a little more specialized. Like that's all they sell. Well, they do sell other juices, but that's their specialty. And Ximending is also the place if you want to try the misua. They have a place called Azong Mianxian, which is Azong misua, basically a stall that just sells misua. Like you have no choice. Your choice is big or small. Like that's it. Big or small, eat there or take away. And if you eat there are no seats. Everybody eats standing. Yes, you're eating a hot, soupy vermicelli thing with spoon and bowl in hand and standing around everybody else enjoying it with you. They provide tissue there. They provide extra chili that you could add yourself. The eating is an experience in itself, but also the misua there is really good. We used to live a little bit closer to there, so a lot of times I'll pass by, and if I pass by, I'll usually take away a bowl or two for mommy because that's definitely one of her favorites, and she always needs a lot of extra chili. The next one I want to mention is Gongguan. Gongguan is an MRT stop, so you could reach there just on MRT. You come out of the MRT, you're there. It's a whole district. It's like right across a university, so it's catered to a lot of university students, so it's very local. It's very authentic. This is absolutely not touristy at all. And there's just so much to explore. I'd say it's also 50-50 in terms of shopping and food. There's a lot of good food. There's two main streets in terms of night market stalls, night market foods that start to come alive a little bit earlier, maybe like 5-6 p.m. because university students, it's more for their schedule. But I do remember there is one day where those streets don't come out, and I think it's a Monday, but I can't be sure. You might have to do a little bit of Googling or YouTubing for that. You want to be there when those stalls are there because it's like a really short stretch of road, but every stall is really good. And it's also only because we lived kind of close there before, like years ago, that we used to walk there a lot. Like this was before the kiddos were born. And so mommy and I would take a walk all the way there. It wasn't even that close. I think walking there, like straight walking with no stopping at all, was like 20 minutes. But to us, it was like a nice stroll. It was when mommy was pregnant with the first kiddo, and that was like the route we always took. So we explored Gongguan a lot and realized that Gongguan is really nice. It's really comfortable, and there is a lot of local delicacies there. So highlights there. On the street, there's a street that has scallion pancakes. You can't miss it. There's a long line every single time. Across from that, there is a gyoza dumpling place made by this single dad with his two kids there. It's so underrated. It is just such great dumplings, such great gyoza. Next to that, there is veggie meat wraps. I'm basically naming almost like the whole street. Remember, the street's not that long. Gongguan is also where there's a place that sells Tonghua, the tofu pudding. It's a mini storefront. You'll see a lot of people gathered inside. You can just peek in. You'll see people eating all this white stuff. That's Tonghua, and that's a stall to go to. There's also a couple of stalls that sell wheel cakes, small round cakes. Inside is usually red bean or just cream. Both are really good. If you pass by, I'd recommend getting one of each at least. And there's also a bakery there. I think it's right next to a Starbucks, which they have really good garlic bread. If you haven't ever been to a Taiwan bakery, definitely go check it out. It's a different experience than anywhere around the world. Our bread tastes different. I personally like it a lot. There's a different fragrance to the bread and the milk here that I enjoy way more than bread that is a bit too plain, if that makes sense. I mean, go try a bakery and then come back and listen to this again, and then you'll understand what I mean. And then so that's Gongguan. And I think Gongguan is also one of those places where you could go there at 3-4 o'clock, shop around first, look around, and then by the time it comes to 5-6, all the stalls start coming out, food becomes bustling, and you could have your dinner as you're walking around. The next and final one that I would recommend is another one near a university. Well, it's actually at the university. It's right next to it. It's the Shida night market. Over there, it's like a mini version of Shilin, and really it's mini version. I think you could finish walking the whole thing in an hour. This is taking your time, looking at everything. It's probably 1 hour. It's really not that long at all. But there's just a lot of very local places there that have been around for a long time, caters mostly to university students. So it's really just, you get to experience a little bit of what Taiwan food, Taiwan life is kind of like. And there's a lot of fun shops because it's near the university. There's a lot of stationery shops and all that could be interesting. Over there, my number one to get is always this thing called a guapao. And what a guapao is, think of a mantou bread split in half with pork belly in it. The way you order the dish is usually you want all fats, all lean meat or a mixture of both. And they will add some peanut flakes and coriander and kind of like a Chinese radish type thing. You'd have to try it to know it. And the one over there is really good. I'd highly recommend it. You can't really miss it. It's the only stall that sells that. So look around for a guapao or ask around like where they sell guapao and you'll see what I'm talking about. And so if you're coming to Taipei, those are my recommendations on where to hit and what foods to hunt for. Remember, anything that looks good, try it out. I don't think you can go wrong. There is a lot of other smaller night markets in Taipei that I didn't mention today. And if you Google or you go on YouTube, you might see it. Go for a visit. Just for me, my experience as somebody that really loved the night market culture here, I think these are the must-go ones and must experience at least once. You decide if you want to come back to these or explore the others. Now, this is Taipei night markets. It's all in different places. You could easily just get an Uber or go on an MRT and reach them. If you go to other cities in Taiwan, if you start going to Taichung, Tainan, or Kaohsiung, their night market culture is a little bit different. There's a different night market every day, and it's really just a different location. The stalls are similar. The location is usually just this one huge empty parking lot. All the vendors just push their carts over there, and they only function on certain particular days. Say, Monday's this location, Tuesday's this location, Wednesday is this location. Like if you're going to Taichung, Tainan, you'll want to ask your locals or your hotel receptionist which night market is open today and just go to that one. It's very different. I would say if you're exploring Taiwan as a whole and you really want to go into night market culture, I would say Tainan has the best food and the best experience because Tainan night market is really like you feel you're in a night market. In Taipei, a lot of the night market is still like half building, half stalls, right? In Tainan, it's 100% stalls, huge section on food, and then a huge section in carnival games. I would say the one thing that Taipei loses out on is the carnival games aren't as fun and it's a little bit more expensive. In Tainan, it is really cheap and there's so many different types of games to play. The owners there in Tainan aren't afraid to give out gifts. So, depending on their mood, you could be on a losing streak and be like, oh, you know what? This is your consolation prize, which is basically like a first prize in Taipei. And then, make you feel good and you want to come back again. So yeah, that's kind of a rundown in Taiwan night markets. Now, another thing I want to mention, other than the night markets, if you come to Taiwan, is there's two things you got to visit. Number one, you have to visit our 7-Elevens. I think, going to be very biased, but I think after having checked out Japan 7-Eleven and now Korea 7-Eleven, Hong Kong 7-Eleven, Singapore, I have to say, I do feel we have one of the best 7-Elevens in the world. I mean, you just have to go. Like, you just have to go into our 7-Elevens, check out the snack section, check out the meal section. Anything you pick out is going to be great. And the meal section, a lot of the foods is you pick it out cold and then they'll microwave it for you after you pay. But they actually taste really, really good. You have to go and experience it. And it's like two experiences. For me, 7-Elevens in Taiwan is like such a home treasure because as a tourist, it has every single thing you need. You can even get toothbrush, toothpaste. You could get clothes. If you spilled something on your shirt, you need an extra shirt quickly, you go to a 7-Eleven. They sell shirts. It's raining, you need an umbrella, you go to 7-Eleven. They sell an umbrella. And the other thing for us locals here is this, we get to do everything with 7-Eleven. We can send parcels like DHL at 7-Eleven. We pay our bills. We pay our parking tickets. We can have our packages in Taiwan sent to our designated 7-Eleven and we go to 7-Eleven and pick it up. 7-Eleven has a copier if you need to, make copies of some documents. You can buy movie tickets, train tickets. Everything is there. And it's just like the first thing that I'm thinking about whenever we're moving in Taipei, it's like, is there a 7-Eleven nearby? Because if there's a 7-Eleven, quality of life raises a lot. Currently, we're actually living close to like 4 7-Elevens, but that's the thing in Taipei. Like, I think once you start walking the streets of Taipei, you'll start to realize that every 500, 700 meters, you're going to see 7-Eleven or the equivalent of it, like OK Mart, Family Mart, High Life. They're all versions of 7-Eleven. I'd say 7-Eleven is the best one, but they all carry similar functions to it. So if you come over, you got to go visit our 7-Elevens. And if you're a coffee lover, I have to say the 7-Eleven Americano is one of the best Americanos in Taipei. I'm somebody that likes bitter coffee and it seems like most Taiwanese people like the sour types. And I guess that's why I like the 7-Eleven one because they go down the bitter route. Second thing that you got to visit if you come to Taiwan is our breakfast stalls. You'll see these scattered around Taipei every morning. I think they start opening at about 5, 6 a.m. to cater to people that work. You can spot them by the place that they cook on. It's like a mini teppanyaki station. They're just cooking breakfast stuff on it, eggs, bacon, even black pepper noodles. you gotta go and try it out. And really, order anything, even a sandwich. Like our sandwiches taste different. Remember I said our bread tastes different? Our sandwiches taste different as well. And I think it's worth it. I think it's worth trying it at least once. It might seem intimidating because a lot of them don't have English. You might have to bust out your Google Translate camera to see how to order things, but it's quite simple. And I won't even tell you what to order. Just whatever looks good to you, even if it's a burger. Like our burgers will taste different. The breakfast stall burgers do not taste like burgers from McDonald's. Not at all. It's a very different taste. Highly, highly recommend it. Highly worth it. And it's not just that. There's also like the traditional soy milk with wheat flour bread and fried dough. I don't even know what the English for it is, but in Chinese it's 烧饼油条, right? 烧饼 is like the wheat bread thing and 油条 is the deep fried flour. You get those two, you dip it in the soy milk. It's a match you're not going to get anywhere else. And if you're really adventurous, for some people, it's maybe an acquired taste, but you can get the salty soy milk, which is basically a savory dish. Use that to dip the 烧饼 and the 油条, and you got to try that out as well. And that's available every morning. And usually breakfast stalls end at around noon. You'll find some that go out throughout the day, but all their freshest things will be usually in the morning. I'd say anytime before 9-10 o'clock, hit up one of those breakfast stalls and enjoy. And so after all those recommendations from coming to Taiwan, there's a little bit of tips and tricks I want to leave you with. So when you come here, it's a easy time for you. So number one is most of the night markets, toilets are kind of hard to find. You want to make sure you go first before you go there. There are some that have designated public toilets, like Shilin night market does, but only at a certain section. Like if you see a toilet, you should go, because or not, it's really hard to find. And the way to find a toilet would be go to the closest MRT station. MRT stations always have toilets. If you need one, that's your best bet. Number two is a long line usually means, of course, it's really popular. But if nearby is selling something really similar and there's no line, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not popular. If you get it, it's gonna 95% taste the same. That's usually the case. So if you're somebody that doesn't like to wait in line, because I know some of the lines get kind of crazy here in night markets. If you're not crazy about that, you see something that's selling the exact same thing like next to it, go try that out. That won't be a bad time. In Taiwan, we kind of have this saying where, yes, there are some stalls that aren't great, but chances are low, because if they aren't great, they're gonna sooner or later just close down. There's no way they'll last. Every stall, no matter how long the line is, has their own quality, has their own specialty, and it's worth trying, especially if you don't like queues. Over here in the night markets, in my eyes, you don't really have to worry about hygiene at all. It's generally clean. You can even see how the stall owners are cooking the foods. It's usually quite clean. I don't think I've ever gotten sick from night market food, and neither have the kiddos or mommy. So I guess that's a plus. We've been eating for years, so that's not something you really have to worry about. Like I mentioned just now, 7-Eleven, OK Mart, Family Marts, convenience stores here are open 24/7. So anything you need, you go for it. In a night market and you can't find water, you just, you're really thirsty, you want water, and you see a 7-Eleven, go 7-Eleven and get the water, right? You have everything there. Or it's been a long day, you enjoy the night market, but you need some coffee, go to 7-Eleven, go to Family Mart, they have coffee there. They say everything you need is at the convenience stores, and if you're in Taipei, they're all over the place. You can't miss it. If you're in other cities, it's a little bit less easy to find. Not in Taipei. Taipei is everywhere. So look out for those if there's anything you need at all. And also, some 7-Elevens, they'll usually have a sign outside if they have it. There are some that have free Wi-Fi and toilets. So if you spot one that has a toilet, you can go in and use it. There's no rule that if you go in to use a toilet that you have to buy something. You might feel that you need to, but there's really no need. If you really want to buy something, just like buy a pack of gum or something. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. And then for night markets here, especially the ones that are on the stalls that, they're pushing a cart on wheels, most of them only take cash. So make sure you bring cash with you. Night market here isn't the same as in like Korea. Like this time we went to Korea, I was kind of surprised. I'm like, man, everybody takes card. That's kind of crazy. It's like not like that in Taiwan at all. Taiwan, you still kind of need cash for night markets. Everything else, you can kind of use your credit card or Apple Pay or whatever. Night markets, make sure you bring some cash. You don't have to bring a lot of cash. Remember, like I said, family of 4 going to one night market, you'll have trouble trying to spend like 100 USD. Most likely you'll be below 50 USD and just have capped out because you don't have enough stomach space. Like most things at the market is anywhere between $1 to $2 for one portion, one small portion. If you spent $40, you just ate 30 different things already. Like that's a lot of food. And it's not so small that it won't fill you up. You're going to fill up if you have like times 30 of them. So you don't need to bring a lot of cash, but you got to bring some cash. And so, yeah, that concludes my recommendation to Taipei night markets. And please do let me know anything else you're curious about here, anything else you want to know. I'd be more than happy to make a follow-up follow-up episode on this. Or if you want me to talk more about local Taiwan foods, I can go more in depth there as well, recommending places for you to go. And I think it's fun. I think this Korea trip, mommy planned out a lot of our itinerary. It's because, she was watching YouTube and all that. And I think all these people coming out with content on their favorite places in their countries, I think it's really helpful because you end up finding some places that aren't touristy at all. When you go to places like that, it feels a lot more authentic, lets you have a really genuine experience. And I hope this is what this recommendation guide helps you with. I was going to end this episode just on this because this is already a long enough episode actually. But I actually want to talk about the Mario movie because we just watched the Mario movie yesterday. As of recording, yesterday we went to go watch the Mario movie. And I got to say, I'm really surprised. There's going to be no spoilers here. So don't worry. You don't have to turn off. I'm not going to spoil it for you because I know it's still new and a lot of people haven't gone and watched it. But all I'll say is this. It is really, really fun. It is not what I expected at all. For the past 2 years, with the Rona and everything, I felt there hasn't been any good shows, right? There really hasn't been any great movies. I grew up in the movie era. Growing up, going to the movie was this thing I looked forward to all the time. I was watching every movie that went up in the cinemas because back then going to the cinemas wasn't that expensive at all. And every movie was it wasn't that bad. It's not like there's some movies these days where I just can't. I'm not watching it at a theater, but I watch at home and by 30 minutes, I'm like, all right, I'm done. I can't go on. And so I was expecting that of Mario movie because there's just been so many anime adaptations of manga or live actions of manga that really just dropped the ball. And I just had no hope anymore of people doing this. I just felt Mario movie was going to be all right, you want to cash out on your franchise. I love Mario growing up, but I know times are hard. You need a cash grab. All right, go for it. I may or may not watch it. And that was my whole attitude going into it. But the past weekend, I think a lot of the kiddos' friends went to see it. It wasn't the kiddos' friends that were raving about it to them. It was actually the parents of the kiddos' friends raving it to me and mommy that, oh, it was a really good movie. And we're like, what? Really? And so just nice, we had some doctor appointments yesterday, so kiddos skipped school, but we had some time in the afternoon, and we thought, you know what, weekday afternoons, best time to go catch a movie with a more empty movie theater. And so we went to go catch it, and I gotta say, in the beginning, it's a little bit slow, and maybe because I'm a little bit skeptical. So maybe the first 10 minutes, I'm still all right, what is this? But as the movie progresses, as you meet more characters, as you see more of the nostalgic things that they're putting in there, all the fan service, it becomes really, really enjoyable. And I'm somebody that grew up with Mario, right? I had played from Mario 1, 2, 3. These days with the kiddos, they like to play Mario Party, and the kiddos also play Super Smash Bros. Mario and a lot of Nintendo's characters is part of my growing up. And to see that they did all of that justice was it was a real treat. I wasn't expecting it at all. I was going in there thinking, maybe it's nap time, maybe after haven't been going to the movie theaters at all for the past 2 to 3 years, that this first time back, I'm just coming in for a nap. But nope, wasn't napping at all. Eyes wide open the whole time. Completely enjoyed every bit of it. Highly recommend you to go watch it, especially if you're skeptical like I was. I promise you, this one is a worth it one. 100% worth it. And so that about wraps up this episode. I have a couple of topics that I want to talk about, how to deal with cheat meals and all that. But I thought this is a Taiwan night market recommendation episode. I'll save it for next time. Next time we'll be back to talk about all the diet, weight loss, health stuff. This one, I'm going to end it on all positive vibes. Great Taiwan night market food and Mario Bros. The movie. Super banger. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, anything else you want me to talk about, Taiwan food, Taiwan recommendations and all that, please let me know. I had a lot of fun making this episode, planning it out and all that. Would love to make some more, but I need to know what you want to hear, and so I know what direction to go in. I don't want to become like a travel channel, but I do want to share everything I know if there's a demand for it. So let me know, and it's till the next one. Peace.